Hey, what's up, guys? Tino Patino here, and I'm joined by Kaz Grala, NASCAR Cup Series driver of the number 50 car for the Money Team Racing this season. Brand new car, team's ready to go here at Daytona. So, Kaz, how's it going? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me on. It's a big week here in Daytona.
Awesome. Now, before we get into the Daytona 500, we had two major events in LA the past couple of weeks. The first of which being the NASCAR Clash at the Coliseum. Did you watch that event, and what were your thoughts on it as a whole?
Yeah, I mean that was huge for NASCAR. It was definitely cool to see. Would have loved to be a part of it, but you never know. Maybe in the coming years we could do that. This year is the Money Team Racing's first entrance into the NASCAR Cup Series, and they definitely have big plans and big aspirations for being a full-time Cup Series team soon. So those types of events are ones you may be able to see us in here in the coming seasons. But for right now, we're focused on building, starting brand new, and that starts right here in Daytona this weekend.
Perfect. Love to hear it. And now the second thing just happened on Sunday was the Super Bowl. Did you watch the big game? What were your thoughts on that?
I did watch it a little bit. I didn't pay real close attention. I was actually packing for Daytona during the Super Bowl, getting ready for this trip because I hit the road early Monday morning. So I'll tell you, the last month and a half have been so busy for me, for the team, getting everything ready. And in addition to that, I've been working on my truck and my Xfinity deals as well for this year. So I've had a beyond busy January and into early February. So I watched the Super Bowl a little bit, but I had about 10,000 other things going on at the same time.
Definitely. Well, you have to get your priorities straight. I can't blame you there. So now let's talk about Daytona. You're driving the number 50 car for the Money Team Racing. How did that come about? We know Floyd's been trying to put together a team. What does this mean for you, and how did this all come together?
Yeah, I mean, this has actually been a long time coming. I've been talking to these guys here at the Money Team Racing for actually about a year and a half. But things really started to firm up and get serious, November, December, and things actually got locked in right the first week in January. So as far as things really coming together in a true sense, it came together very, very quickly. The team actually was delivered the bare chassis 33 days ago, and have built it from scratch since. So they've had their hands full getting everything ready, and so it's definitely a small victory for us, frankly, to be here at the track this weekend. That's already the first win of ours for the week, and the second one we've got our eyes on is going to be making the Daytona 500. And sure, that's a tall task between tonight and tomorrow night, but we're hoping for the best. We feel like we can do it, and we're going to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned the next gen car. What has that been like for you? You barely have any opportunities to race in the Cup Series when you do. We'll talk about that a little bit later and how you've made the most of them. But has that been a struggle for you to try to see how different the car is, or not so much since you haven't had that many opportunities?
I mean, it's going to be tough to know really until we're in the race. I got a chance to test the next gen car at the Charlotte Roval back in October. I tested for Starcom Racing back then, and so I'm familiar with the car. I'm familiar with the shifting and the different feel of it to some extent. But obviously, Daytona is going to be totally different than the Roval was. And I did not get the chance to do the Daytona next gen test here last month. So a few of the guys maybe have an idea of what to expect, but I definitely don't. And even them, until you're in an actual racing scenario where cars are trying to get to the front, you really don't know what these things are going to race like. It's one thing to drive around in a line and say like, oh, we're drafting, but once everyone's actually racing and racing hard, side drafting, doing everything they need to do to get up front, that's when we're going to know how these cars drive. And we don't know what to expect. You could find a car in the middle, three wide here early in a duel that just completely loses it and takes out half the duel without expecting it, because we don't know what these things are going to be like in the middle, three wide. Same thing on the top, on the bottom. I mean, you could get a push the wrong way. We don't know how the bumpers are going to line up exactly. So there's definitely a lot of unknowns, and I think everybody's hoping to not be the first person to discover one of these unknowns. You'd much rather see somebody else make that mistake and learn from it than be the one to make that mistake. So I'm as curious as anybody to see what this is like tomorrow night in the duels.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way to put it. But tonight, before we get to tomorrow night, tonight's qualifying. How do you feel about that? I mean, you guys put up a pretty fast time yesterday, 22nd fastest. I feel like that's encouraging for you and your team. What's your mindset like tonight going into qualifying?
Yeah, we're going to see. I think that we've got a chance. We feel good about our chance. There's about 3 or 4 of us that are pretty much the same on time, really, really close. And the top 2 out of the 6 open cars will lock in tonight. So we could be first, we could be second, but we could possibly be third or fourth. And the difference between second and third is huge. That's the difference of getting a good night's sleep tonight or being really stressed out going into the duel tomorrow, knowing that you have to race your way in. So, I hope to be on the end where we lock in tonight and don't have to worry about it tomorrow night. But I've got confidence in the team and in the car that if we got to race our way in tomorrow night in the duel, that we'll be able to do so. I've done that once in the past. I did that last year, went into the duel not locked in and made the race. So I know it can be done. I know we can do it. But yeah, man, it would be a huge load off to not have to have that pressure going into the duel.
Racing your way in, that's something that people dream of, but when they dream, they might have nightmares, like you said, because it's so much pressure. That, like you said, you raced your way in last year, but is that pressure different this year with having Floyd Mayweather's team, talking to this team for over a year and a half, like you said, and now having it all come together for you as their driver? Last season, you raced your way in with Colleague Racing, so a little bit of different, I guess, teams and dynamic there. Is it more pressure this year, or does the pressure stay the same any year?
I mean, it's the Daytona 500. There's pressure to do well no matter what. But I agree with you from the team's perspective. I think it means more to the Money Team Racing to be able to make this race than it probably mattered to Colleague Racing last year when I drove for them. So this is huge for me, huge for the team. There's a lot riding on this. We're pretty dead set on making sure we make this race. We're looking at it as we don't have another option. We have to make this race. So sure, it's pressure. I think you're always going to have that in our sport and in any sport when you're at the top level of it. But, I think all of us, we like a challenge. We're up to that. We're ready to take on that pressure and we can thrive under that. So we're hoping for the best over the next 2 nights and we're ready to do it.
That's good to hear. And, you mentioned thriving under pressure. Well, that's something that, as you are trying to race on Sundays, that I've seen you're able to do. In 2020, your first ever Cup start, finished 7th, replacing Austin Dillon there. And the Daytona road course that was. And then last season in 2021, Talladega, you finished 6th. I remember you saying after that race, like, I can race with the big dogs. I can be here. I believe you. I'm sure you believe that. Your team now believes that. But what can you say to have a team believe in you and give you a consistent ride and commit to you on a full-time basis?
Well, I'm already really thrilled that I'm the one in the car because as a new startup team, they had their pick of any driver that they felt like could help build their program as best as possible. And it means a lot to me that they chose me to put in the car and to get things kicked off here for Floyd and his team. So I already have enjoyed working with them. I hope the feeling is mutual. I think the feeling is mutual. So hopefully we have a good week here, get off on the right foot. And I feel like this could potentially be a long-term home for me. I hope that is the case. The team has a lot of potential. There's a lot that can go right with this group for the next few years. And I'm thrilled to be the one in on the ground floor with this and hopefully can stay here and make a home here. I feel like we've got all the right pieces to be able to make that happen, and hopefully we put them together.
And sticking with the Money Team Racing real quick and what you just said, is there any insight you can give me as to, okay, if we get a top 20 in the Daytona 500, if we make the Daytona 500, if we keep our car intact, then will that open other opportunities for you this season? Is there any races you guys are trying to make as well this season?
Well, I think making the race is that first step because if you're on the starting grid on Sunday, you have a chance to win the race. So we're really, really focused on making this race. But honestly, if we're able to accomplish that and we're going to be there Sunday, well, then we really don't have any goal but win, and I think that's what everyone's going to do in the Daytona 500. And especially in our position, we're not racing for points. I'm not competing for the championship in the Cup Series. So I'm going for a win. And I think that helps make things simple. You don't have stuff on your mind. You're not playing a points game. You don't have to think about different things. It is straight up, we're going to race the way we feel like we need to race to put ourselves in the best position to win this race. And I think everyone tries to do that for the Daytona 500. Even if you are racing for points, you want to win the Daytona 500. Somebody's going to come up 39 spots short of that, and somebody is going to do it. So why not us? I don't think we have any particular goal for Sunday if we do get there. I don't think that there's any position where, if we finish this well, that will lead to more races this year, more sponsorship. I think it will already be a huge accomplishment that will help set us on the path we want to be on for this year if we are there on Sunday. And everything from there is icing on the cake. However well we can finish, I think will be a great story for us. And I definitely feel like as a brand new team, a startup with no technical alliances, no help, built the car from scratch, I think that we are underdogs. So anything we're able to do on Sunday is going to be impressive. So we're working as hard as we can to make sure that we're there.
Definitely. Everyone loves a good underdog story, a good grinder, if you will, ready to put the work in. And that's something you're doing this year, not just with the Money Team Racing, with Alpha Prime Racing in the Xfinity Series. You're going to be racing 4 races there. And then also in the Truck Series for Young Motorsports, you're going all across NASCAR and all across their series and the teams that you're a part of this year. Do you think you're in a good position to succeed with those teams?
I definitely do. I feel like I'm in the best position to succeed that I've been in for the past 3 or 4 years. I'm going into this year with 17 races set in stone on my schedule, with a huge opportunity to add races to that in each of the series. In the last year, I went into the year with 4 races on my schedule. The year before that, I went in with 5 on my schedule, and the year before that, 5. So you add all 3 of the past years up, and that's still less races than I have on my schedule locked in for this year. So it's a huge opportunity for me to do well. And from a driver's perspective, it's going to keep me warmed up. I'm not going to be getting into the races stone cold after being out of the car for 2.5 months or 3 months like I have the past few years. So for me, it's going to make my job a lot easier being able to race this much this year. And the teams I'm with are great teams that I feel like we've got a chance to really turn heads. Young's Motorsports, I raced for them 3 times last year and got 2 top 10s. All 3 of them were top 12s, and contended for the win at COTA. We came really close to getting the pole, really close to getting the win at COTA. So I feel like we've got a lot of confidence in what we'll be able to produce this year. And Alpha Prime Racing, they're a brand new team as well. They're getting their thing. So, all right, not sure yet if that's going to be a team that in year 1 is going to be contending for wins in the series, but you've got a chance to shine with a new team as an underdog and show that you can help as a driver, help them build their program, give them feedback. Everyone enjoys working with you. I think that there are still things that you can do with a newer team that are going to be really good for your career, even though they're just starting out. So I think there's a lot of potential here across all 3 series for me this year, and I'm thrilled to get it started here this weekend in Daytona. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, the more you explain it, the more we get that vibe of the underdog, and you can't help but root for an underdog from a, I guess, personal standpoint, for something that the fans can't see, or, something that really the personnel of your teams and only you as the driver can really know about is the people. There's so many people that makes up a team, and you're part of 3 different teams, like you just mentioned. Is that hard to keep track of this crew chief, that crew chief, all of the different guys you have to talk to? Like, do you know what that's like so far?
Yeah, that's what I've been dealing with the last 3 weeks here. It has actually been a lot to try to keep track of in terms of me bringing race seats from shop to shop and helmets and race equipment and keep track of my schedule. And this team set up an interview for me and this team set up a different interview for me, trying to coordinate my schedule. A lot of the guys that race a lot of races in the different series kind of have somebody, a manager that takes care of all that for them. I'm doing this all completely on my own this year. So in addition to being a driver, I'm kind of also being like a logistics manager for all of this too. So it's keeping me really, really busy, and had me pretty stressed out before the season, just making sure everything was done right. But I've been saying, as busy as these past 4 weeks have been for me, I've been looking forward to getting down here to Daytona as the least stressful week that I've had in a while, and it's almost like a mini vacation. And it may still be stressful here with trying to make the race, but I'm telling you, it's still more relaxing than what I've been the past few weeks. So I'm enjoying kind of getting back into driver mode rather than into like marketing mode and logistics mode over the off season. Now I'm back to being a driver here at the track, focused, in the right headspace to go do my job to the best of my ability.
Yeah, you mentioned being back at Daytona too, and that's somewhere you won in 2017 in the Camping World Truck Series at that time. What is that feeling like? Not yet to win. I mean, it's every driver's dream, but to hope to be back into victory lane. What would that be like if you could find your way back there, whether it's in the trucks, Xfinity, or hey, even Cup Series?
Well, it'd be huge in any series. Daytona is Daytona, but this weekend I've only got the chance to do that in the Cup Series. So if I were to be in victory lane at any point, whatever time on track this weekend, that would be life-changing. The Daytona 500 changes anyone's life, no matter who you are, whether you've been in the sport for 20 years already as a Kevin Harvick or Denny Hamlin, or if you're brand new to it like me at this level. So this race is a huge deal no matter who you are. And so if I could end up in victory lane, sure, that would change my life. But even just having a really good weekend and doing well here, you'd be surprised at how much it can change the opportunities that are in front of you. Just a couple years ago when I filled in for Austin and made my Cup debut in the 3-car, that race alone helped open a lot of doors for me and put me in a lot of conversations for the next year or two that I probably wouldn't have been otherwise without that. So sometimes all it takes is that breakout performance to really change things for you in your career. And I absolutely feel like this year and this week is as good an opportunity as any for me to be able to do that.
Definitely. And, last question for you here. Might be a little bit of a funny one, if you will, but, you're racing for Floyd Mayweather's team. Floyd's one of the best to step into the ring. If you could step into the ring and go against any NASCAR driver, do you have any guys that you're willing to settle the score or end a rivalry with there?
I'll keep my scores to myself as far as who I'm thinking about that I feel like I owe one to, but I would happily step into the ring with anybody that I race against, as long as I'm not stepping into the ring against Floyd. I'm probably in decent shape. I'm not in good shape if I'm stepping into the ring with Floyd. I got no chance there. So I need to stay in my lane, stick to the driving, and see if I can pick a driver that's smaller than me if I got to go fight him. That might make my work a little bit easier.
Well, that's probably the best way you could answer the question. But, thank you so much for your time today, Kaz. Best of luck on Sunday. Hope to see you racing in more Sundays, going throughout the season and the next few seasons. Best of luck in the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and like we said in the Cup Series. Best of luck, good luck, and I'll be rooting for you. Everyone loves a good underdog story.
Thanks for having me on.
For sure.